Throughout human history, sometimes they have been persecuted, sometimes they have become rulers themselves. Yes, we are talking about magicians. For a long time, magic remained a symbol of power. With evolution and in the development of practical magical tools, it has become a technology that helps people in their daily lives. Wizards are those who can solve problems with their magic, and I will also become one of them, or rather our hero thought he could become one. Our hero is in the first year of the National School of Magic. His name is Junpei Ichinose. He tells us that if someone uses hover magic, then the person he is paired with won't be able to move. He had an exam and they were supposed to read each other's magic, but suddenly water started pouring on his date and he realized that he had obviously made a mistake. This girl's boyfriend wanted to punch him, but he didn't mean it. Anyway, to make a long story short, they just had a fight. And that's where our hero ends the story. He wonders if this means he'll be like this for the rest of his life. Suddenly he looks up. He sees the feet of some beautiful lady who is looking for something and thinks it must be around here somewhere. The hero asks what she's doing there and who she is, and thinks she's ignoring him, so he decides to make her an object to train. He thinks that this could serve him as an excuse for skipping school, but he decides to think about it later, because now it's not about that. She decides to start looking from here, but the hero is already blushing because she is flashing her thighs here, and he definitely decides to see her face. He uses the ability and tells her to fall. Suddenly, she does fall. He's shocked. He didn't even think he could do that. He's surprised that it's so easy, and he realizes that now he can use magic. But then something huge falls on his head. He's fumbling for something, and he hears some strange noises, and he's looking at something terrible. She calls him a pervert and he tries to justify himself. He says it wasn't on purpose, it was just that she was on the roof and seemed suspicious to him, so she fell. He also says the smell of that something was good enough. The girl says he just met her and he's already playing just the most criticized mango in the world. She asks him if he's a pervert, and she asks who she is and what the dress is. She introduces herself to him. She introduces herself by the name Mary, and says she is pleased to meet him, saying her name. She asks what that magic was earlier, and if he did it. He apologizes, saying he didn't think it would work. She says didn't he, but is interrupted, and says he's probably just imagining things. Meryl says she's fine, because she's strong, and asks if he goes to this school and what his name is. He introduces himself with the name Junpei Ichinose, a freshman. Meryl asks what he's doing here, and he explains that he got into a fight with someone, and that's why he missed class. She asks if he had a fight, is that a reason to skip class? But afterward, the hero tells her that it doesn't matter now, and asks why the foreign student was on the roof. Meryl says she's not a student, and the hero asks, and she explains that Meryl is a wandering sorceress who travels all over the world and she came here to destroy something in quotes. The hero gets angry and says that destruction is a crime. The hero calls Meryl over and says that damaging property and trespassing is a crime. She says that's right, but he tries to stop her and she asks. He does whatever he wants, after which he threatens to report her, and Meryl says she'll still have time to destroy everything. Afterward, she runs up to the church and kicks the door in with one fist. The door flies off, and Meryl says she's the best. She runs away, and the hero realizes he has to report it. He reports and is told that the situation is clear. He is also informed that members of the group are heading there and is told that he should leave the place. He is asked not to confront this suspicious individual. The hero thinks to himself that he did not intend to do such a reckless act. He walks up to Meryl and says that he's already reported it, but Meryl isn't really paying much attention to him anymore. She asks Dunaway if he knows where she can find the ring. She puts her hands on her cheeks and asks what's wrong. She decides she can tell him something and asks him to promise not to tell anyone about it. She shows a ring on her finger. She explains that it is a domination ring, an item that allows you to use domination magic on the person on whom the wound mark one and make them completely obey the wearer. This terrible magic was lost 1,000 years ago, but an evil organization is trying to revive it. They have kidnapped 10 girls who were wearing. There's a mark engraved, so Meryl is looking for the ring. The hero asks if it's all true. He thinks it's just a crazy story, but Meryl says it's true, and that Meryl destroyed this organization 10 years ago. But the hero says it's a lie. She was probably just a child 10 years ago, but she says she's not a child, and she'll be 666 years old this year. She stopped the aging with magic, and the hero says she's a liar and that he's never heard of such magic. Meryl says that he's talking to a great sorceress of the past, and that he needs to be a bit more forthcoming. But he doesn't think so. Someone says the door feels like it's been welded shut, and the hero recognizes the voice. Someone yells that he knows it anyway, and asks Meryl to come out. But the hero asks Meryl to run out the window, and she asks why she would do that, since she's fine. The hero explains that she's an idiot, because this man will obviously cause her a lot of trouble, because if she's a sorceress, she should know who the hero is. There's a descendant of a man who defeated a demon king a long time ago. She's very powerful. The hero explains that he was the one who delivered the message at her, but he explains that she doesn't look human. Take this chance and run away, her character asks. We are introduced to the girl Sonia Lightfellow. She asks if he reported it. She complains to him about him skipping class and says they'll talk about it later. The hero asks her if she is here alone, but the heroine ignores him, saying that there are still classes going on, and if she waits for the whole group to arrive, the intruder might escape. She talks about how she is capable of handling it alone, and she also asks him what she's doing about the thief. She asks him only not to tell him that she has charmed him so much that he has decided to help her escape. The heroes don't understand how she found out. Is this detection magic? Meryl comes out and yells for them to try to get the truth out of the gangster who's on her way out. She introduces herself with her name and asks for love and pity. Sonia asks her to tear up and turn herself in immediately, but Meryl says she still has things to do, so that's impossible. The heroine summons her sword and says that she has trespassed on this property, and she also has suspicions of property damage, so she has every right to take her into custody. Meryl is surprised, for she is beaten with magic, literally magic, for her sword is woven from her magical power. She says that such a quick activation is a pretty powerful spell. Sonia explains, because she's an elite. She's from an elite group of talented students called the Brave Red Heart, who contribute greatly to the public school life. She tells us that security, rescue operations, disaster relief. They also work with the police to cross crimes using magic. The hero reveals that he has already seen Sonia dispatch criminals. She did it in a matter of seconds, and he didn't even have time to realize what happened. He thinks about Sonia being a genius who stands out even among the elite group. Sonia declares that she will take her down in just 2 seconds, and the hero yells for Meryl to run. Sonia lunges and ends up right in front of Meryl's face, but Meryl, saying it's her punch, merely stabs her in the chest. She falls down, all dazed from the pain, and our hero starts to worry about her. But she slowly rises up and puts her hand on his shoulder, and with a frightened face asks him to step back. Sonia, screaming that she won't let her be humiliated, with her clothes torn, raises her hand and says she won't regret it. She creates a bunch of electric balls, and Meryl is even a little surprised. The hero thinks about how powerful magic is and is afraid, because it probably can't be used on people. Sonia declares that it's useless to run away now, and that she's surrounded by countless ball lightning bolts. A lightning strike at the speed of light is something Meryl can't dodge, and a direct hit can kill her. The hero screams that she's gone too far, and starts using the skill, screaming that she is about to learn the power of instant justice. She uses the lightning strike skill, aiming her ball lightning directly at Meryl, and the hero is already starting to worry about her. But Meryl, with just a few hand motions, sharply deflects them. And she explains that it's dangerous because they use these things. It's definitely not safe. And Meryl says that she seems to have a lot of talent. However, she picked the wrong opponent. She starts jumping around and laughing at her, to which the heroine, Sonia, gets very angry, and the hero realizes that Sonia is about to go crazy with anger. Meryl declares that it's her turn. Sonia says she'll use her special trick and asks him to help, to pull up the time. But Junpei says he can't use magic. But the heroine says that if he wants to be famous, he should start moving forward, no matter what. She says any magic will do, and asks if he understands it. But if he fails, then let him be prepared for the consequences. The hero, gathering his power, screams about how this is all complete crap, and remembers his lessons and advice that if he uses hover magic, then the person he's doing it to won't be able to move. He remembers and imagines the connection to magic, and uses wavelength magic. He sees Meryl attacking him, but he asks him to please work his magic. He casts an immobilization spell. He saw something at Sonia's place and was immediately energized, and his magic successfully worked. Meryl approaches him and asks him to use his ability again. The hero realizes that he doesn't know what's going to happen, and uses magic, talking about no movement. and he doesn't succeed. But Meryl, saying his name, takes his hand and brings it to her chest. The heroine doesn't realize what she's doing and starts screaming. She screams about how they are total shameless, but Meryl even starts, and immediately his magic works. The heroine Sonia asks them to stop, so Meryl shuts her up using her magic. She says she only wants to talk to Junpei and asks her to just shut up. Meryl claims he's an era mage, saying he's a pervert. Events shift to the academy, and Sonia's character says they missed the culprit. And of course, she blames everything on the hero, saying he's a total shameless asshole and the fact that he was always in the way. He tries to justify himself, but she yells at him to just shut up. And some girl tells them to calm down. We are introduced to a new character, the head of Brave Red Heart, the group Sonia is a member of. She's from the 3rd year of high school. Her name is Hijikata Kido. She says that the intruder is clearly dangerous and that the teachers have already reported her to the police and asks them to just forget about her. Disappointed that they missed her, Kido says they are too, but the decision has already been made. The chairman asks that she was looking for a ring, but didn't say which one. And the hero says she didn't, but they suspect something. And the hero brings up magic, control, a criminal organization, and 10 girls. And he remembers that she asked him, for their safety, not to talk about it. And also when Meryl was leaving, she also asked him to keep his promise. So our hero didn't bother to tell them. The chairman thanks him for his help and says that's the end of it. Also, the chairman asks what Sonia said about some pervert, and she says this guy was looking at her underwear. But he says that's not true and tries to justify himself again. God, this character will probably spend the whole manga trying to justify himself. The chapter says she probably just imagined it, and the heroine asks why she thinks that. And she talks about how she's known him for about 3 months, and how he's a bit cocky, but a nice enough guy. And Sonia remembers that she was only just dragging him around. And the hero remembers that she was just tripping on his mind. The head approaches the hero directly and asks if it's true that he's been skipping again. And is she right? The hero blushes and tells her she's too close. And Kita asks why Sonia ignored the order. After all, she said she could rest today. Sonia, a little embarrassed, leaves that hall. Ki begins to reason that a wizard must fulfill his assigned duties, and also asks why he skipped class. The hero replies that if he could have used magic normally, he would have probably gotten out of the situation. Kido says that he just hasn't found his way yet, and after all, he's bound to find something. The hero realizes that his own magic is an era of magic, and he realizes that it can't be, because he's never heard of such magic. Kido says that she is worried about his fate as well. She pulls out some sort of coin and asks him to look at it. She tosses it up and uses cutting magic, saying that she can now cut anything. And whoever wields this magic is able to cut space itself. He catches the coin, and it is cut in half. He's surprised, but Kaida says it's just a minor trick, but even that's enough. She adds to the fact that a bad person could hurt a lot of people, and luckily this skill can only be used by her. She asks him to remember that wizards always carry invisible weapons with them. She also says that she hopes he isn't doing anything wrong. The hero admires Kita's magic and says that it's very cool. Kaida thanks him, but says it's magic. She doesn't like it. After all, if some wizard tries to cause a tragedy, she will be sure to stop him. That's her choice. It takes imagination and desire to use her magic, a sense of justice instead of greed. After all, that is the principle of the Red Heart. She asks to see it. She says she's read the reports, but she's never seen his magic. She says what she is sure he should experience such a thing. She won't complain, no matter what the outcome is there, and asks him to just show her. The hero says he can't. After all, it's magic with unseemly effects. He recalls Meryl's words. He thinks about how such magic simply shouldn't exist. He imagines the scene with the chairman and thinks about whether it's true, and what would happen if it is. Kaida tells him not to be afraid, and assures him that she can handle it. She asks him to just trust her, and the man says he will. He concentrates, visualizes the image, and uses paralysis. Kita says nothing happened and tells him it won't work that way. She takes him by the head and starts bringing him right up to her chest and says that his magic still hasn't unlocked and asks him to try again. She truly believes she can make it work. And finally, the anime buttons can't withstand the onslaught of these monsters and say bye-bye. Her charms are revealed and the hero, looking at them, yes, starts screaming. He starts to apologize, but she calls him a dragon, and the hero really can't believe it. She goes up to him and asks him if they're weird. After all, she thinks She apologizes for the immodest question, but asks his opinion of heroically sits down on his knees and says that she is incredibly beautiful and that he would love to touch her. The heroine stands in shock and doesn't understand what has come over her. She asks him to forget about it, and the hero replies that such a thing cannot be forgotten. The glossy, gorgeous body lines and purple peepers fit just right. She starts stuttering and says cuckoo she bought it by accident. It just got docked at the store. And the hero says that the salesman is clearly knowledgeable about his business. He also talks about how the red color will suit her and that it will accentuate her long, beautiful black hair. Perfect at the same time. Serious and passionate. He's even willing to pay for her to wear it. She asks him to stop and blushes. He says he's not done yet. Suddenly Sonia walks in and says she forgot something and sees this whole situation. She creates a sword and wields it, the blade to the hero's neck, and asks him what he has to say for the last time, but the hero, sitting in a cold sweat, says that it's all wrong. Events are transferred to the apartment of the protagonist. In the background we hear the TV, where the morning news is on. They tell us that the day before yesterday around noon an intruder invaded the grounds of the Magical Academy and that the perpetrator is currently at large. The hero already has a premonition of trouble since the morning. He recalls the fact that he apologized on the heroine Sonia's lap. He apologized for looking at Keith's underwear, and Sonia punishes him by having him walk to school an hour early tomorrow. She declares that she will eradicate his dirty thoughts. The hero doesn't realize what's going to happen to her now. It is also said on TV that it was a young girl who introduced herself by the name Meryl. The character recalls that she was looking for a ring that was nowhere to be found, and also she was asking where the door was, but he said that only she had already kicked it out herself. Meryl decided that she would search all over the school, and asked Junpei that if he found the ring, that he would be sure to destroy it. But Junpei in response only asked her to leave. The hero realizes that he has no idea what she's doing right now, and watching TV, he sees interference on it. Suddenly the interference goes away, and he sees an interesting female body. The station immediately panics. They say try to set up a server, and that the magical barrier has been breached. The server just won't respond, and they try to attack back, but all to no avail. They see Meryl, who asks them not to film what others are not supposed to see. She is dressed in a bunny costume. She greets all the listeners and introduces herself to them by her name. She says she has a little business to attend to. She's used magic to tap into all the audio and video equipment in Japan. We see that the civilians can't even lock the screen, and that their phone doesn't respond at all. The hero realizes this is kind of crazy, and Meryl starts to explain that she's looking for the ring. She shows it to him and asks whoever has it now to come forward. She tells us that this ring was created by an evil organization. They were planning something bad, but she won't even go into detail about their victims. She is very angry and can't just let this go and will not spare those who abuse this ring. Meryl also says that she has dealt with the bad guys. She says that other people shouldn't worry because she didn't kill anyone. She just punished the bad kids a little. She says this with a creepy smile, and even someone calls her a cutie. She tells us that while she was scurrying around the world looking for the ring, new facts came to light. People involved in the horrible plan were hospitalized one by one. We see a strange room. Someone is listening to her, and she's talking about how if the one who took possession of the ring is involved in all of this, and if he's unrepentant, she's going to give him a huge surprise. She's talking about how his life in Meryl's hands and that she could break his bones or maybe just drop a meteorite on him. She mocks him, looking into the cameras that are broadcasting her. She looks into the camera and says how he himself wants to die. But whoever owns the ring calls her a cursed witch. And who? The camera suddenly realizes what it is in the manga. Now it can move the plot in an interesting direction for a bit. Suddenly, abruptly, it moves and starts filming a place it shouldn't. Meryl swears and the audience is just shocked. She asks him not to shoot from that angle, and the cameras attack her form. They get right under her clothes, and she says she was only joking. She's not sending any meteorites. The audience watching this is just in shock, and they'd obviously like to get closer to see it. Meryl declares that whoever owns the ring should listen to him. In fact, on the evening of August X at 6 o'clock at the Fountain Plaza of Park A in the southern Tokyo district, she tells him to be sure to bring the ring there. Meanwhile, our hero is only just wiping up the blood coming from his nose after what he saw. Sonia says she's being bullied. She's clearly not happy with what she's doing. Meryl, Kita asks her to calm down. She says she will put them out for security as well and tells her to get ready. Meryl says whoever stole the ring will be forgiven if he gives it to his will, but if he doesn't come, she doesn't vouch for herself. She says goodbye and says we'll all see each other August X. Reading the comments on his phone, he realizes that viewers are expecting it because everyone thinks she's a funny criminal. Some even say she's a national fake. He thinks about the fact that Kita and the others might show up there too, but he doesn't think Meryl will seriously hurt anyone. August X comes up. The event moves to parquet, and some old man takes a moment away from his obviously loved ones. At first he was on his phone, but someone showed up behind him and just killed him. News reports that the head counselor of the Brave Red Heart in charge of security at Tokyo School of Magic, Teacher Kondo, has been seriously injured. The suspect is Meryl. Waking up, our hero immediately looks at his phone and sees what is on the phone is a lot of news about Meryl and what she did last time and what she is suspected of doing. But the hero, turning around, sees her and screams. The hero doesn't realize what Meryl is doing here and at first even stutters. This time Meryl is wearing a skirt and very nice clothes. The hero asks what she's doing here. Meryl only cares how she turns off and if what she's wearing is cute. She says it's her priestess clothes. Do you think it's really a priestess outfit or just? Okay, I'm just gonna shut up. Let's move on. Meryl asks me to use my hero says she must be messing with him because he's a criminal, and that she's taking a huge risk being in his room. He asks if she's a pervert, but all she says is that she's having trouble getting around, she's very tired, and she wants to take a break from looking for the ring. She decides to spend the day improving his magic. The hero doesn't realize if there is any point in improving his magic. Instead, she says, he tells her to run faster before she gets caught. She says she has a reason to do that, because those 10 subjects, they're marked. The mark of slavery. To save these children, she needs erotic magic. The hero asks what dominance magic is, and she replies that dominance is the magic of slavery. The sigils and rings of domination form equal magic. Those with the marks of slavery can be forced into absolute submission to the flips of the ring. She explains that the sign appears on the lower part near the abdomen in women and on the back in men. And the hero asks what this has to do with erotic magic. Meryl replies that dominance magic also has to do with erotic magic. More specifically, it's a different type of it. But the hero tries to explain to her that it doesn't. After all, this magic is simply done so that different erotic things happen. But Meryl explains that the age of magic is great magic because it was used by the Demon King Zeno. The hero is puzzled. He asks again if the Demon King is true, and Meryl says that they probably taught it in school. She tells him that England was destroyed by the Demon King's magics. Many people were taken as slaves, and the country was destroyed. And of course, the king at that time tried to counterattack, but she tells us that at that time everyone was over and no longer could they resist. They were brainwashed with this magic. She tells those who were enslaved became slaves and mentally weak. They began to receive impossible orders. She explains that Meryl doesn't want these kids to end up the same way. The hero says that's right. If they don't break the rings, is it true that everything will be okay and that it will end up the way they want it to? She says they need to start practicing erotic magic with Meryl. She says this because they need to beat the dominance magic. Our hero says he wants to help people, but erotic magic. So why does he get the damn erotic magic? It would be cool if he had some other magic to help people. She talks about those girls who are his age and how they all grew up to be beautiful women. If he helps her, she will create a harem for him. He says he really wants to help, but he doesn't want to use and starts to run. After he runs up to the door, he tries to open it, but realizes that it just won't open. The hero with the Saw reference turns around and Meryl states that she won't let him escape, and she explains that there's already a barrier in place. She explains that her Jissa outfit helps her use barrier magic. It blocks all sounds and all magic. The hero thinks it's all because of the dress's ability, and Meryl explains that unless the hero removes or destroys that dress, he won't be able to leave that barrier. She says there is a way to escape easily, and says, now try him to use his erotic magic and undress her. The hero refuses her, saying that he's absolutely not up for that. And then Meryl says there's nothing she can do to help him then. Abruptly Meryl says they will have. Hero doesn't realize how things have come to this, and Meryl says she can't use magic without some information. And the hero starts to pull. Meryl jumps on him and says he just needs to lay down. She asks if this is his first time, because it is Meryl's first time. The hero wonders if she is a virgin, and suddenly she pulls down her outfit a bit and looks at the hero. The hero is only trying to reassure his boy. He realizes that if he touches this place, his life will never go back to this state he is trying out now. Meryl starts. The hero begs God for his wishes to go away and not show up again. The hero realizes that to break the barrier, he just needs to take off her outfit. That would be enough. The hero's hands reach straight. She says she has a legitimate reason to save, and the fact that his reason is using this magic is also a reason to prevent sacrifice in this world. She says that the important thing is that only he can do it. She makes the hero think, and he will inflame with the desire to help this heroine. He says he'll save innocent victims, and Meryl immediately lights up. She gets a sparkle in her eyes, but tells him not to take on too much and asks her to please explain to him everything he doesn't know about erotic magic. Then she declares that she will start by making him rip her dress off. With Meryl, she talks about how she can't believe there's a rat in her dorm. Her fist is filled with magical power and she's on her way into the room. She walks in and sees a naked Meryl and tells her to give up. Meryl greets Sonia, but our hero is clearly looking in the wrong place. Meryl jumps through the window and Sonia asks her what she was doing here. She replies that it's a secret and says goodbye to her. She asks her to stop and says she will take her to condo, but she's already fallen. The heroes aren't upset that she ran away again, but our hero is still reeling from what happened and thinks about how beautiful a woman's body is. The hero wonders if he can master this erotic magic and whether it is really possible for him to do what this magic does. Sonia asks Junpei what they were doing, and the hero realizes that he can't even get away from it by ignoring the heroine. The events move to the student dormitory. We are told that the bandit Meryl, who flirted with our hero last time, attacked a student who was returning to his home. We are told that thanks to the efforts of the Red Heart, they were saved. They narrate this information to us. Our hero was clearly questioned, but he couldn't tell them that Meryl had asked him to be his magical partner. He tries to remember and thinks to himself that that situation with Meryl was just a complete disaster. We are introduced to new characters Harada and Yamanami. They turn their attention to two girls who are almost stretching. Their names are Ahita Hanaya, Polikura. They are both sophomores. Motoko Sagara. She's a third-year student, the one with glasses. That's Ahita. The small one is Nadakura, and the girl behind her is Sagarasen. They're having a dialogue about how they only have one more year to study, and how they'll soon be fine and won't be such mean broads anymore. But someone comes up behind Junpei and talks about how she decides to ask them directly. It's Sonia. She asks him about the main character's relationship with Meryl, that is, the criminal. She turns to the two of them and explains that although he looked cute, but she points her finger at him and accuses him of being a man that people don't even realize who he is. They don't know about his secret meeting within the confines of the dormitory and the fact that he's been dating Meryl and what they've been up to together. These occasions allow them to doubt whether he is an honest man. The chairman tries to reassure her by saying that Junpei is just a victim of the situation. Sonia talks about how she realizes that she was picking on him, but she talks about how the teacher she fell for is still in a bad way. She asks to understand her offense and that it is very sad for her. Ironic situation. He thinks about the fact that he needs to focus. He takes control of his magic and visualizes his victory. They prepare, for it is coming. Everyone waits in amazement for his attack. And Sonia screams for the hero to finally do it and show how awesome it is. He uses the technique of love. The hero's magical power is released. And suddenly there is total silence. There is a magical surge and something is clearly happening. We see the female students defending themselves from the magic coming from our hero. He finally uses his magic, and something clearly obscene appears in his hand. She realizes that the hero something has stolen from her and stands in utter bewilderment. There are women's panties scattered all over the arena, and we realize that it's not just her he's stolen from. All the male students are genuinely happy for our hero. But those two senior students, not even realizing what they are doing, are ape. They say that this situation they certainly did not expect. The students say that as a result they are now without their protective talismans. Sonia is mentally broken, but the chairman says it's such magic, and that it's just the possibility of an explosion. The hero approaches Sonia and apologizes for his behavior as he clearly went too far and reaches out to her. Suddenly, a strong wind begins to blow and our hero bumps into Sonia's pad. Suddenly the heroine realizes where he then fell. She lets out a groan and screams that he is a complete fool. This concludes the first part of this story. If you want part 2, let's get active with likes and comments. And also write the secret word, Meryl, so that I realize that you have seen the end of this video. And also let's get 1,000 likes, so that the second part will be released as soon as possible. That's all for now. See you later and bye-bye.